I don't know why they keep making this statement. In my opinion, it's false. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Now, as of the motion to dismiss hearing, we know that when it comes to the IGG information in the Idaho case, that the fight for it is pretty much coming to an end. The defense team, Bryan Kohberger's team, has been trying to get the IGG information for months and months now and have been being told this entire time that it is completely irrelevant because the IGG itself is not going to be admitted into court evidence. I have made my stance on that very, very clear, and I will reiterate that stance at the end of this video because I want to go through all of this first so I can show you guys ahead of time why this is my opinion. Now, a 32-page order addressing the IGG was filed at the end of last week in the case. I do not want to go over the entire document with you guys because the gist is exactly what the gist is. He's going to be looking through the IGG information before it is given over to the defense, which again, I have an issue with. To me, they should just be giving the IGG information over to the defense team and have everything filed under seal. That way, they fully get everything that was involved in that IGG investigation. And again, I'm going to be showing you now exactly the reasons why I feel like it is extremely valid and important to make certain statements that have already been made very clear when it comes to them claiming that they do not want to have the IGG information admitted into actual evidence at trial and their reasoning. Their reasoning is what I'm claiming is a lie. Okay, so here is the order addressing IgG DNA itself. We are going to go all the way to the bottom because this is where the statement has been stated the most recently in this case, and the reason why I'm bringing up this document and these statements to begin with. Let's see. Right here. Okay. Right here on page 30 at the very end, because look, there's the signature and then here's the statement, okay? However, the courts understand the state's concern with the identities of unknown relatives being made public and acknowledges the need for the issuance of protective orders. The state's argument that the IGG investigation is wholly irrelevant since it was not used in obtaining any warrants and will not be used at trial is well supported. Not to me, and not per the actual probable cause affidavit for arrest, nor for the search warrants. This document right here is the probable cause affidavit for arrest. Okay, you see the little maps. Let me go up to the top so I can show you guys exactly the document we're looking at. Okay, this is the PCA written by Brett Payne. All right, now I put in sheath and it takes me to everywhere where it's at. This is the first place it's mentioned, which is page 2. It talks about the tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed. It talks about it being a K-bar knife sheath with the USMC little emblem on it. And it states that the Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA suspect profile left on the button snap of the sheath. Now let's go to the next time it's mentioned. Click this right here at the bottom. Okay, this is the end of the document. Again, this is the ending of it. I'm going to read you this paragraph right here and then this one so that this is just how I'm seeing it, okay? On December 27th of 22, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from the Kohberger family residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. That evidence was sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. On December 28th, the Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. That is about the trash DNA. We're going to get to why that's important here in a second and how it's related to the IGG. But this very next statement, okay? Based on the above information, I am requesting an arrest warrant issued for Bryan C. Kohberger. If the IGG investigation was not done and did not point at Bryan Kohberger, there would have been no reason for them to go all the way to Pennsylvania to try to find a DNA match to that sheath. They wouldn't have known to go all the way to Pennsylvania. And that is just based off of what we're being told as the public right now. Because again, there's a lot of this that we don't know. And how he ended up in Pennsylvania and in all of this is insane to me, because if they really had him, then they would have had him and they wouldn't have allowed him to travel all the way across the country. And if they allowed him to travel all the way across the country, why didn't they just get trash DNA from his own apartment? Why didn't they get trash DNA from his office building before his arrest? It is just wild to me that they had to travel literally all the way across the country to do trash DNA testing to match to the suspect profile found on the knife sheath. But then they just took trash out of a trash can and it wasn't even a match to him himself. They just dug in the trash. How many times did they dig in the trash before they actually had DNA? That whole situation in Pennsylvania is so questionable, and just the fact that they keep telling us that there's no body cams of his arrest honestly blows my mind. For there to be anything in Pennsylvania wise or funding or whatever their excuse was, you can't sit there and tell me that the SWAT team wasn't cammed up. There's no way in hell. Now, the match to the sheath DNA is mentioned right before the statement of, based on the above information, I am requesting an arrest warrant. Okay. Now, this is that 166-page drop that came out months and months and months ago. And it has all kinds of information from WSU, from the apartment search. This is where we got all the information from Dawn Daniels when we found out that she mishandled the DNA evidence from his apartment for 10 days. It was in this 166-page document drop. So page 39 is where the application for search warrant for his office at Wilson Short Hall is. And on page 44 is where this statement is made. Supplemental Disclosure DNA. I've been informed by Detective J.R. Talbot of the Idaho State Police that on November 13th, a sheath was recovered at the King Road residence under or next to the body of Maddie Mogen. The Idaho State Crime Lab obtained a male DNA profile from the sheath. This is also referred to in Sergeant Blaker's sworn statement. And then she mentions how on December 22nd, law enforcement agent officers in Pennsylvania recovered trash that originated from the Kohberger family residence. That trash was sent to the Idaho State Crime Lab for testing. On December 28th, the Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile was obtained from the trash. It was compared to the suspect DNA profile. The lab personnel concluded that the source of the trash DNA profile was a male that was basically the biological father of the suspect profile on the knife sheath. And then it goes on to state, this information is being provided to the court pursuant to my duty and obligation to be fully candid with the court. I do not believe this information is exculpatory for the suspect. However, if the court believes it is exculpatory, then the court should consider this supplemental disclosure in its evaluation of the existence of probable cause or lack thereof. But I am specifically asking the court to not consider this supplemental disclosure as evidence supporting the existence of probable cause. The reason for this is that if the DNA test results are held inadmissible at some point, such a ruling would not impact the finding of probable cause for this warrant as long as this court is satisfied as to the probable cause regardless of the DNA test. Meaning, if you feel like there's enough in here without the DNA, that's all that matters. But we're going to go ahead and tell you about the DNA, but then also ask you to completely disregard the fact that we just told you. See, that's kind of like my whole point with this, but hold on, there's one more spot. So then we have the search warrant for his apartment. Okay, see right here, 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment G201. Okay, if we go down to page 70, the exact same thing is right here. The exact same thing, where she is specifically asking the court to not consider. Why mention it? That is my question. As someone who's just out here looking in, trying to figure out what's going on here, if you didn't want anything pertaining or relating to the IGG being considered in arrest or in search warrant, why even mention it? Now, I know they might have some sort of legality to do so, but you have to see, and they have to see how that looks. You're sitting here, the cops, the law enforcement, the prosecution, the state, trying to tell us that this IGG information is not important, but without that IGG investigation, would they have gone to Pennsylvania? I don't think so. Not with the way that everything has been laid out in front of us so far. And again, I could be wrong. We are not seeing everything. But this is how it looks to me. They have mentioned it in the search warrant for his apartment, in the search warrant for his work, and in the arrest warrant. But then they want to sit here and claim that they aren't. In reality, they are, but they're using technicalities and they're being very specific with their words. Again, with the way everything has been laid out, if they did not have that IGG investigation lead them to a family tree that led them to Bryan Kohberger, they would have never gone to Pennsylvania. They would have never dug that trash out that trash can, and they would have never matched it to the knife sheath DNA. And that's just the truth based off of what we have been given so far. And I'm going to say that that's the truth because it's really my opinion based off what we've been given so far. And that's basically what they've told us. They didn't have anything to do with those Indiana stops, right? So he went to Pennsylvania not being a suspect. They were giving us the wrong year of the car for how long? And all this footage they apparently have of him and his vehicle driving the path that the suspect took, and all they ever showed us was stock photos. They couldn't release a single snippet of the real car from all the security footage? Why? In my opinion, the IGG investigation and its conclusion led them to arresting Bryan Kohberger. And it is related to the DNA on the sheath because they had to use that DNA in the IGG investigation to get to where they are. Now, I don't know if Bryan is innocent or guilty, just like I don't know if Richard Allen is innocent or guilty. I know that the defense team, their job is to defend their client. They can do that as well as they can without lying. They are not allowed to lie. They can say things how they need to say them, but they are not allowed to lie. So whenever we're being told that there was no DNA of the victims in his vehicle or in his home, in his apartment, his office, his parents' house, any of that, that's rather important. But you also do need to consider the fact that it was well over a month after the incident that he was arrested. And that's a long time to actually get things clean. That is something that I have not just let go. And I will say again, I don't understand why the prosecution can't just hand over the IGG over to the defense under protective order and under seal. I don't understand why Judge has to go through it first. I don't like that. I'm leery of that. Sorry, not sorry, but I am. There's no reason for the public to see any of it. If the defense gets it and the defense is happy with it and they don't have questions and they don't think there's anything shady in it, then cool. We don't need to see it. I understand them wanting to protect what they are claiming are informants, which are people that are related to Bryan Kohberger, supposedly, that are in this family tree and part of the entire IGG investigation, because that's what it is. It's them going in and finding the genealogical matches in order to be able to pinpoint their suspect. I understand them wanting to protect those names, and their names should be protected. But I don't understand why, whenever this is a court case, the two sides are not privy to the same information. So the state is able to see all of those connections and all of those names and how they're all pieced together, but the defense isn't allowed to see all of those intricacies, only the state. I don't like that. It seems like something could go wrong there. So I guess we're just going to have to see how this works out. I hope the defense doesn't have any issues with the IGG. I don't want there to be a bunch of issues with this case. I want them to really have their guy. I'm just not convinced because they're doing a piss poor job at convincing most of the public that he is the one who did this. But that is it, you guys. I just wanted to give you my opinion on these statements that I feel are a bit conflicting. And again, this isn't my job. I'm out here on the outside looking in, trying to figure it out. And when I'm constantly seeing them mentioning the DNA information in all of the warrants, but then claiming that they didn't use it in any of the warrants, that seems like a lie to me. I could be wrong from a legal standpoint, but from a normal standpoint, that seems like a falsehood. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. See y'all.